Let me explain what a render graph is, using pasta. So the concept of a render graph is very important to my little 2D render engine. And so it is very important to me. Hence, I will try to explain it to you in non-technical terms. You're making pasta, and you open your recipe book, and there are 4 instructions. Number 1, chop the vegetables. Number 2, boil the pasta. Number 3, cook the vegetables down into a sauce. And number 4, assemble and plate the dish. Now it makes sense that the recipe is written in sequential order, because that's just how we write stuff. But if you think about it, that's not the most natural way to represent what's going on. Writing the recipe as a list of instructions introduces dependencies that are misleading. So for instance, it doesn't matter if you chop the vegetables first or boil the pasta first. Neither of those things depend on each other. And if you rewrote the recipe with the order of those instructions swapped, you'd end up with the same dish. So a more natural way to capture what's really going on is to write the recipe as a graph. So you would have one node for boiling the pasta, you'd have another node for chopping the vegetables, then you'd have another node for cooking the vegetables down into a sauce, which would depend on the chopping the vegetables node. And then you'd have a final node, plate the dish, which would depend on the result of boiling the pasta and cooking the sauce. Now you might think this is goofy, but maybe if you were an industrial pasta factory, having such a graph might be a good way for you to understand which steps can happen in parallel and how you can optimize your processes to churn out more pasta per minute. And so a render graph is basically a recipe written in such a graph form that describes all the steps needed to render a single frame. You can imagine individual steps like one node would be a Gaussian blur, and it might depend on the result of a texture being rendered before it can be blurred. And I use it because it feels like a very natural way to capture the essence of what should happen in a frame. Anyway, see you tomorrow.